If anyone's still left, respond to the poll. It's still live. And with that, I am going to end the poll. So Nancy, great insights. Almost 56% of the audience is looking to pursue a master's program abroad. 23% is somewhat likely. If you combine these top two buckets, right, that is around 80% of the audience is looking to study abroad. So that's a really high intent audience over here. And I think the one big question which the audience has, and the very first thing they want to know, is how to stand out, how to make that outstanding application and crack a top business school like INSEAD. So with this note, over to you. We are looking forward to these tips, the guidance that you're going to share today. And I'm sure this is going to be extremely helpful to this audience today. So over to you.
Thank you so much. So I have about 20% of the population that's attending today that I absolutely have to convince to study abroad. To the other 80%, thanks for your vote of confidence. I'll do my best to help you really make that application stand out. And it's all about being yourself, but also knowing where are your strengths. Sometimes you don't realize it. Okay, so let's just get into the presentation. You need to know what the mission, what the culture, what the values of the school you are applying to when you apply. You need to know this fact. It helps you to know already, is it a good fit for me? And then you can have this in the back of your mind when you're writing essays. One size fits all does not exist. Of course, you're going to apply to one or more business schools because smart people always have a plan B. But not all of your essays suit the mission statement, the culture of every school. So you're going to have to adapt. So at INSEAD, it's interesting to know, we were created post-war to rebuild Europe in the beginning, to bring people together, to learn how to work with diversity. So this is our mission. We bring people, cultures, and ideas together to develop responsible leaders, to make a positive impact in the world. This is what we do. So that you should probably have this in mind when you're writing your essays, to be able to reflect the fact that you want to be somebody inclusive. You're an inclusive person. You're an open-minded person. You want to make a positive impact, and you can maybe show already on your CV some of the impacts you have had already, be they small or big. You want to show your impact because you see that that's what we are after. It's nice to know that around the world there's 62,000 alumni. Students will often get numbers about alums. What you want to know is, are the alums active? Are they doing well? If you reach out to them, will they respond to you? This is what you need to know about the numbers. You could have 100,000 alumni, but if nobody's going to talk to you, it's not interesting. Okay, so at INSEAD, yes, we do have a huge global alumni network, and it's very tight-knit. MIM, MBA, EMBA, everybody is an alumni. It's a community, and it's very inclusive. The fact that we tell you, we bring together different cultures tells you that we are looking for different sorts of people. The number of times I've heard Indian students say, yeah, but I'm an engineer. Guys, we love engineers. Engineers are problem solvers. That is what a manager is supposed to be. So you have an advantage, okay? So first tip, let's talk about professional experience. It's important for you to know that in the Master in Management program, we accept students that have 0 full-time experience up until 2 years of full-time experience. If you go past 2 years of full-time experience, post-grad I'm talking about, right? Post-grad full-time experience, if you have more than 2 years, you are pushing yourself in the MBA life, okay? So MIMS 0 to 2 years. If you have no full-time work experience, then look at the list here. We also are interested in your internship experience, your volunteering, charity, community service, NGO kind of experience. Family business. I, for one, worked with my father. I survived it, and I learned a lot. So family business is important to us. military experience, clubs, societies, associations, extracurriculars, especially if you've been in founding, co-founding, president, the treasurer, if you've had a, been having a role of leadership and organization and coordination within the clubs. Startups, co-founding things, even if they've failed, it really doesn't matter. You put yourself out there and you've got the experience. That's what's important to us. So practically, you don't need to have post-grad full-time experience. In any case, you shouldn't go over 2 years. And if you don't have any full-time experience, it's okay, because look at all the other things that you can bring out on your CV to show you have had some kind of professional experience or experience in a professional context, let's say, in an organization. Anything you do inside of an organization, whether it be for charity or for salary or for your school, it's an experience. Oops, sorry. So kind of the mistake that some of you can make is not knowing where you should be. What is your profile suited best for? Well, if you're a MIM, chances are you won't have more than 2 years of professional experience. The age can vary because some of us do really long studies. Engineering studies can last 5 years, or sometimes, there can be a family business experience attached onto that before you get to your postgrad course. So the age is variable, but the experience level is rather strict. So it's either less than 2 years of experience, you're a MIM, more than 2 years of experience, you're already looking at the MBA, and a huge amount of experience will bring you to the executive. So think about it as a high-rise apartment building. Your dream company is a high-rise apartment building. MIMs are moving in. They're launching their careers. MBAs have been there for 5 to 6 years. They're on the 5th, 6th floor. They want to move up, or they want to move out, or they want to move up and out. So this is how you can situate yourself. It's really important to look at your experience level, where you are in your career right now. Are you launching? You're a MIM. Have you already launched and you have some experience? MBA. Are you looking to go into senior management? Executive MBA. It's not any more complicated than that. There are admission criteria and there are admission requirements. Don't get them confused, right? Admission requirements is the supporting documents we require, the online application, the interviewing, et cetera, et cetera. The criteria is what are we looking for? And this is what you need to pay particular attention to. We have a question in the chat box. I can only apply to a limited number of schools, and there are things to consider like the application fees. How do I figure out where I have a maximum of chances of being admitted to? Right here. This is it. This is the first thing you should be looking at. What are the criteria of each school? Some schools do not care if you have a ton of extracurriculars, if you have a ton of hobbies, if you have passions. Some schools very clearly don't want to know about that. We do, because we are a school that does everything in groups. Just about everything you do will be in groups. So we need to know you're going to get along. And the more you tell us about the hobbies, the extracurriculars, your passions, basically what is amazing about you, what is different about you, this is your ability to contribute. And it's our #1 criteria before the academics, before the GMAT. It's your ability to contribute that we are really looking for. So what does that mean exactly? We're looking for people from different backgrounds. Not everyone, and less than 1/3 of the class, has already studied business. So be at ease if you come from political sciences, technology backgrounds, scientific backgrounds. Not everybody comes from a business background, and thank goodness, because the idea of doing everything in groups, why we do this, is that you're going to get a different perception of a same problem from all the different people of the group. This year in the MIM, we have an actress, we have very different profiles, people that have come from medicine, people that have come from economics, people that have come from political sciences, history, anthropology. So when you mix that with people that come from a scientific background, technological background, you all really have something to learn from each other. Okay, so how do you make your profile stand out? This is where the magic happens on your CV. You tell us about your extracurricular activities, your clubs, your associations, your hobbies, your volunteering, all those things that don't really have a category. It should be on your CV. And the things that make you stand out, make you outstanding. What is different about you? Think about it in your mind. What is different about you that probably your neighbor doesn't have on his CV or hasn't done in his lifetime, basically? What are the life experiences alongside the academic experience and professional experiences that you could, have some transferable skills you're going to share? I hope that's super clear because it's really important. Then, of course, we're going to look at the academics, the university transcripts, and your GMAT or your GRE. You're Indian students, guys. You have a reputation. You're the vice champions of the world in GMAT. So we are expecting big things from you because we know you can do it. And it's also an opportunity for you to put your best foot forward, to show your high potential, and to shine bright like a diamond, Let those quant and verbal skills shine through. And of course, your international motivation. So that obviously is, making sure that you're in the comfort zone because you are going to be from diverse nationalities. So you want to show that, yeah, I can work in multicultural groups. Not everybody in India has had a chance to travel outside of India. It's one of your, I would say, weaknesses that we can see on the CV often is that you haven't been able to travel outside of India, but it's because you don't leverage what you've done either, leverage what you've done. Have you done internships in global companies where you can name that, okay, we had cross-cultural teams, we had international customers? Make sure every chance you have that you have had international exposure, you are naming it, you are pointing to it, you are indicating it. You didn't just work for PwC, you worked for PwC and you had contacts with team members, and you can name the countries where your team members were from. Or I was working in a multinational team, and you can say where your team members were from. It's really important that if you haven't been able to travel, you find ways of showing your international exposure and your international motivation. I like this. I'm at ease in this type of environment. Languages is just one of the ways you can do that. Learn a European language. It doesn't have to be French. We're not going to hit you over the head if you don't learn French before you come to France. It's a multi-campus school, so you will be starting out in France, but you'll also be going to Singapore and to Abu Dhabi and maybe to China and to San Francisco. So learn whatever language makes sense for you for your future career, but do learn one. There's learn something that puts you out of your comfort zone, that shows that you're open to other cultures. Indians love food. I love food. That's why I know. It's one of our common points. So maybe you're a foodie and you like foods from different countries. So you can mention, that you love international foods, or you have a hobby about that or passionate about that. Anything that, shows that you're open to the world. Strong academics and quantitative skills. It's something that you want to pay particular attention to. If your GPA was slightly lower than it could have been, don't leave the admissions team guessing about why that was. Maybe you were super involved in your family business. Maybe you had work alongside study in another company. Maybe you were super involved in associations like ASIC or different associations for your university. Those take a lot of your time. But they also make you a well-rounded person. It enhances your ability to contribute. So let the admissions know, I could have got a higher GPA, but I was really heavily involved doing this or that. And since that's the case, then you want to show your high potential and push the GRE or the GMAT score as high as you possibly can to mitigate that weaker GPA. Sometimes it's also interesting to note from a point of view of your institution. It's much more difficult to get higher grades in prestigious institutions that are a little more severe in grading. So if your institution happens to be ranked, amongst the top in India on your CV, you might just want to put the link saying that, the institution is, one in the top institutions of India today, or whatever ranking that you're looking at, right? What we need to see is that, yes, you can handle the coursework, because we don't have MIM professors and MBA professors and EMBA professors. We have award-winning INSEAD professors, and their level of teaching is challenging for everybody. They teach across programs. So they're not going to lower the level for the MIM students. They're going to push you up. It's very challenging and it's very enlightening. Oops, so sorry. That's wrong. So you also need to know, so what score should I be shooting for? That's typically one of the questions. And this is where you can stand out because you have that capacity to get those scores. Engineers, quants, makes good company, right? So go for it. It's true that a high score doesn't guarantee admission, but it makes you stand out. When you're getting over 700, we start to get impressed. So go for it. When you're getting over 320 in the GRE, we start to get impressed, right? Ideally, your scores are balanced out, but we are, remember the other slide, worried about the quants. Can you handle the finance classes that we're going to throw at you, for example? So even your verbal is a little lower. If your quant is very high, it's all good. Don't worry about the analytical writing part of the GMAT. We don't care. We have our own essays in the online application. So quant, verbal, integrated reasoning. That's what we're interested in, okay? These are the application requirements. Everything is online. You do not have to send anything by snail mail. The GRE or GRE score, you have to have it done before one of the deadlines you're going to be applying to, at least your test taker copy, so that you can upload the test taker copy that will allow you to have your application processed. You need to upload your transcripts. In some situations, because of COVID, exams were pushed back. Just, compile all the documents that show all of that and send what you have. For languages, if you've studied your entire degree in English, please do not waste time and money getting an IELTS or a TOEFL test. You don't need one. The essay writing, make it your own. Make it yourself. Don't make it Google. We've read so many Google essays, we can recite them by heart, honestly. The letters of recommendation, super important to have people that really know you and that are really positive about you, and before the deadline. So, give them a heads up. And of course, the video component. The video interview is compulsory. It's part of the online application. You should practice answering questions in 1 minute. So between, yourselves, between you and your friends, just, ask each other some crazy questions that last not more than 1 minute. You have 45 seconds, so time your friend. You have 45 seconds to think about the answer and then film them. They have 1 minute to answer your question. It can be, what's the nicest thing you've ever done for somebody else? What's your favorite kind of ice cream? Why should I try it? If you won $1 million, what would you do? If you could change something in the world without any consequences, what would it be? What are you going to bring to the MIM that somebody else can't? These kinds of questions. It's not tricky questions. It's tricky answering them in 1 minute. So it's just important to practice. Goodness gracious, I'll never get this button right today. So CVs. CVs are super important, right? It's generally the first thing the admissions committee is going to look at. And this is really your opportunity and your best opportunity, your most concise opportunity, your most high impact opportunity to show what is different about you, what makes you stand out. It's right here where things are going to happen. Okay, so you can see here that I'm telling you, make it look like a shop window. When you are going to your favorite shop, or you're going to, one of the places where you do your shopping, there's generally a shop window. You can't put everything that's in the store in the window. It'll be too cluttered. It won't stand out. And chances are you won't stop and go into that store. So dress the window. You can't put everything in there. Put the most amazing things about you in there. Tell us about you. We want to learn more about you. That's what our essay section is called, is getting to know you. So you need to leave room for the magic to happen on the CV. We want to know about your education. We're a school. We want to know about your education. Were you on the dean's list, or in the top 5% or top 10%? Do you know your personal ranking, or when you did your entrance exam? Some of you have some amazing rankings where you were against millions and thousands of students. So let us know where you were. If you got really good grades, put them right on there. If you got distinctions, if you got prizes, awards, the experience, spell it out for us. Tell us what it was. Was it an internship? Was it volunteer? Was it a startup? Was it an association, etc.? Extracurricular activities, because you're going to do a lot of group work. Yes, we want to know about them. Sure, you maybe wouldn't want to put this on a job CV, but you're doing an academic CV. And this is where some of you kind of get it a little bit wrong. You're afraid to, tell us about your activities, your hobbies, your awards and achievements, your certificates, your publications, some very important projects you are a part of that you're proud of. All of these things make you stand out. This is really where you can stand out the most. So this is something I don't usually do, but I'm going to do it for you. I went on internet and took a CV off of internet. It's a person I don't know. The CV was readily available on internet. I put the copyright, and I'm going to pick this CV apart with you so that you get what I'm trying to tell you. So my first impression of the CV is it's very boring. I don't like the photo. It's not enthusiastic. It's not smiley. It's very... That person could be going to a funeral, basically. There's no smile, there's no enthusiasm. I don't think I would want to have that student in front of me if I was a professor. You don't have to have this strict, serious, turtle-like photo. You can tell that person is stressed right there. That's not the kind of image you want to get across. I don't need you to tell me it's a CV. You don't have to waste a line telling me it's your CV. I can clearly see it's your CV. There's absolutely no reason for Europe to have the declaration or the references section, because you're going to have that in the online application anyway. Save some lines, take that out. The objective has to be really precise, or don't bother. To be a part of an organization. What kind of organization? What industry? Where I can contribute to the firm as well as grow along with the organization. That's Google. That is Google, my friends. It's boring. It doesn't apply to you personally. It's a waste of space. And the admissions go again. So no. Either you're like, I want to work in finance, in investment banking, in Europe, or you have a specific idea of an industry, and if you don't go there. Don't go there. It's not an obligation. You can start out with education. We're an institute, an educational institute. We want to see the education first. That's what we're interested in. So if we look here, there is a lot of nothing. We just had the name of the university. We don't know if it's ranked, if it's a great institution. We have abbreviations that not everybody knows. I mean, I've had the privilege of traveling around India, incredible India, and I know what CBSE means, but not everybody does, right? So maybe that's going back a little bit too far anyway. But I mean, these kinds of charts is not the European style at all, right? So look onto formats that are global formats, European formats. If you want to keep this chart, then at least give us, ranked, top 10 India today. Let us know, hey, I come from a prestigious institution, and here's how you can check that out. We're used to seeing percentages or out of 10, so that's not a problem. But this format is a little bit boring. The job responsibilities. I don't know the impact of recs here in anything. I just have a list of tasks. I have receiving, sorting, building, and vaulting of cash. I'm already falling asleep. I have no idea what his impact was there. Interaction with the customers, complaint solving. There's so many opportunities here to show his impact. Did he decrease the time it took to solve complaints, to solve customer problems? Were his customers international, global, local? You have to make it so that we know what you're talking about. It's not so much what you did exactly, the actual tasks, it's what your impact was. So here's some examples here of some of the things you could have said about different activities. You increased membership, or you increased a customer database by this many or this percentage. You were able to set up a certain amount of corporate meetings. You created online campaigns, or you assisted a team, or you were part of a team that created online campaigns. You built and managed podcasts or a web page. What did you do? What effect did that have? Did you reduce something? Did you increase something? Do you have any quantitative data to show us exactly your impact? These are really key things that make you stand out. You're able to quantify what you did. And then we have other achievements. So Rex could have, told us a lot more about these. Won prizes for best for performing branch in the circle. What prize did you get? How many were in the branch? We were first out of 10 branches. It's all about participated in the All India Management Meet conducted by Institute of Management Studies and won first prize for system games. It's already starting to get better. He won first prize for system games. It was a national competition. It was an international competition. It was a regional competition. Was it the first time that branch won, or that school won, or did they maintain first position? It's really important to try and quantify, to try and show your impact. For European and global, generally we don't put our religion, our marital status, our gender. So those are all lines that are taken up there for nothing. The thing I liked the most about the CV was that he likes gardening, cooking, playing cricket. I could have done maybe without watching Hollywood movies, but how long has he been playing cricket? This is a thing. Does he play on a team? Is he ranked? Is it a national team, a regional team, a university team? What kind of cooking? Indian traditional cooking? That would be nice. Gardening, is it fruits, veggies, flowers? Be precise and magic will happen. So I hope you get what I'm talking about. But, your CV is your window, dress your window. You can't put everything you've ever done on there. Put the most amazing things you've done on there. If you can't decide, reach out.
And see, I'm going to jump in over here on
Yes,
the
yes.
resume. Can we go back to the slide? Because
Yeah, sure.
as an ex-admissions officer, I'm going to vouch for this, that the CV, the resume is the very first document that you pick up, right? Even before reading the essays, looking at anything else, it's a resume that you look at, because that's what tells you the candidate's profile. In the sample, I see a lot of redundant information, right? And this is especially true for Indian applicants. We tend to put our complete postal address. We would want to put our marital status, like religion. All of these are not required. Am I getting this correct? All of these information should be out of the B-skill application resume. That goes out. That leaves a lot of empty space, a lot of space available on the resume. A lot of candidates, and especially we do have a lot of audience from the top engineering schools in the country in this session, would tend to list their academic projects, which may be very technical in nature. Some research paper published, some internship or project work done under faculty guidance, which is very, very technology or technical in nature, which a lot of people normally would not understand what they're talking about. So is that the right approach? Should they be talking about such things? Or is it better to keep information which is more widely understood by non-engineers or non-technology background people as well?
No, really, that's correct. I agree with everything. I mean, if you've done some very interesting projects, it's much more interesting to know about that than about your religion and your marital status.
Perfect. And how does one
Published
balance?
Sorry, go ahead.
So how does one balance it out, right? I mean, I remember seeing a resume of an engineer, really strong credentials, had done a lot of projects, academic projects, which were very technical in nature. And I, being a non-engineer, I couldn't make sense of half the things that the person was talking about. This person said, oh, I had published a paper on spatial dynamics for something or the other, which didn't make sense to me, it was a field which I wasn't very familiar with. So in such a scenario, what should be the focus on for such a candidate?
It's super true. I mean, you do some amazing things that the title, we don't understand even the title of what it was, right? So sometimes you have to vulgarize in a very short sentence what that was, what the impact of what you did was, what you were doing, why you were doing it, you know? I had one student that did a solar bicycle.
Okay.
And when he first wrote what he did, I was like, what is he talking about? Because he was really focused on the solar element and it was too technical for me. And I was like, okay, talk to me like I have no idea because I don't. Tell me what it's for. And he's like, oh yes, I'm going to apply it to a bicycle and I'm going to go biking from, it's like, that's the interesting part for Mr. everyday guy that isn't, an IT engineer. Please tell us what you're doing with it, why you're doing it. It's probably a super interesting project, but you have to vulgarize for people that are, not initiated in that particular field. So publications are interesting. You can tell us, but don't get too technical on us. You can just, sometimes it's like, if you just tell us I'm developing a solar motor, a solar powered motor, because I want to cross India with my bike, and be completely independent, that's super interesting. But if you get into the actual module of telling me all the connected parts and, I'm lost already. The magic won't happen.
Perfect. So I think this is relevant information. So people coming from an engineering background, this is a common challenge. We see that a lot of times you get into a very technical information details, which may not be relevant or even understood by a lot of admission officers since they don't come from the same engineering background. So keep it simple. If you've got a publication in a good journal, a good scientific journal, give those credentials, right? So saying instead of saying that, hey, I got published in a journal, or even the name of the journal, give the background. Is it a global publication? Is it your journal? What is the credibility of the journal, right? Otherwise, you can have an article published in any random magazine, but that doesn't have any value. So you need to give us credentials where those publications have happened and try to keep it simple enough for laymen like us to understand the technical jargons as well. So
You
great.
can put a link, right? You can put the link because some of our readers are engineers and will understand and will go, oh, that's really interesting, and might, want to take a glance at that. So put the link in a very short format so they can if they want to, right?
Perfect. So keep it simple, keep it clean. Don't clutter it with a lot of unnecessary information. Focus on impact, focus on the key points, and try to keep it simple enough so that the reader can understand what you've written. So yeah.
I did sort of, when we were looking at this slide, here are your titles, right? Education, experience, extracurriculars, awards and achievements, languages. A lot of you will refer to your extracurriculars as leadership roles or roles of responsibility. You can, if you're stuck on that, fine. Extracurricular activities and leadership roles, extracurriculars and roles of responsibility. But admissions will be looking for extracurricular activities or clubs, associations, societies. You don't necessarily have to translate it into roles of leadership, roles of responsibility. You could say leadership and or extracurriculars and leadership, because it goes hand in hand. But these are the subtitles sort of thing where you could kind of bounce off of. These are the different areas that we would want to see on the CV. There is an example of a CV on the INSEAD website if you're stuck, but oftentimes it's not really the format, it's the presentation. So, go roaming around out there for a good presentation style. And if you're, if you can't find it, then give me a ping and I'll send you one.
Awesome. Great.
It's not this, not this one.
Or we really don't like this one, so don't do this. As I said, try to keep it clean, keep it easy for the person to read. This is what that creates the first impression, and you want your first impression to be neat and clean rather than someone who's messy who's not able to decide what is relevant information and what is not. Nancy, before we move on, I'm just going to take one question from Shaurya over here. I'm not
Yeah,
picking up
sure.
a Q&A. I'm just going to pick up one audience question.
Yeah.
So Shaurya is asking, do international summer school exchanges count as international experience? Can the person highlight that in the application? The person has done international summer school, worth highlighting, not worth highlighting?
Definitely worth highlighting. If you've done any online courses, but with, institutions from outside of India, if you've had the chance to actually go to a summer school or you've done an online summer school, definitely it's an interaction in a multicultural environment. So yes, I'm all for that. Admissions will be all for that. And that allows you to highlight, other schools. You've done a Harvard summer school or an HEC Paris summer school or an LBS summer school. It's getting you out there. You might as well go for a big name doing an online course.
And we know that INSEAD here, since you position yourself as a global school and school for the world, you do like candidates who have got some international exposure, who understand multicultural dynamics, have interacted with people from various countries, various languages, cultural backgrounds. And if a candidate has got such exposure, highlighting this would be worthwhile, right?
Absolutely. Anything you can do to connect yourself to somebody that's not like you.
Awesome. Great. I think this is great insight. A lot of the audience is from the ISEC background as well. We know a lot of them have participated in ISEC conferences or been members, and they would have interacted with a lot of people from around the world. I think that's an advantage for you. So if you have done that, you're an ISECer, have participated in conferences, interacted with people around the world, done internships outside of India, do tend to highlight that in your application. It may give you that advantage over there.
Any kinds of competitions, it could be sports, it could be arts, dance, any kinds of competitions that have gotten you in contact with others, case studies, Model United Nations, all of these things, because this brings me to this slide. Everybody's a minority at INSEAD. Diversity takes on a whole new meaning. Just because we have a campus in France doesn't mean you're going to find a majority of French students there. On the contrary, French students are very few and far between. Just because we have a campus in Singapore doesn't mean everybody comes from Asia, because people are going back and forth anyways. So you are going to find an extremely diverse group of people in nationalities and backgrounds and goals. And that's the whole idea, that you are really not like the other person that's sitting beside you. Letters of recommendation. As soon as you open your online application, go to the tab, send the invitation to the person you want to recommend you. Do not wait until you have filled out your application. They don't see your application. You don't see their letter of recommendation. It's completely independent and confidential. So don't waste time, because the less time you give people to do something, the more they're going to be stressed, and the more you are going to be stressed. They're not doing it on time for a deadline. So that's something you want to do as soon as you can. But before you send the invitation, contact these people. Tell them INSEAD really reads what they're going to write, and that INSEAD is looking for very strong, positive recommendations. You have to be sure that person is really positive about you. And if there's a doubt, be politically correct, right? Nobody's going to say to you, oh, by the way, Anita, I'm not that positive about you, so I'm not going to do the letter of recommendation. Most people will do it anyway, but it's going to be, lukewarm. Who wants a lukewarm recommendation? Nobody. So if that person, you're not really sure, you can say, I know you're super busy right now, but I would be really happy if you could give a positive feedback on the recommendation form for INSEAD. I'm applying to the international, Master in Management program. But if you're too busy right now, please let me know and I'll try to find somebody else. And that way, anybody will feel comfortable saying, I'm super blocked right now. I'm loaded. I can't do it. I'm full up. But nobody's going to say, I'm not really that positive about you. I don't even remember you. Nobody's going to say that. So position yourself. I really enjoyed the economics class we did together, or the project management class we did together, whatever it was. Our team did this. So try to get the professor to remember you, and then say, I was looking, INSEAD's looking for a super positive recommendation. Seats are limited. I was hoping you can do it, but if you're too busy, please let me know and I'll try to find somebody else. Give them a politically correct out, but also remind them, I am fantastic. You found me fantastic. We had a great class, and remind them, what a super student you were. If you have a privileged contact with somebody that mentored you during your thesis, and that's definitely the person to go to. If you did an internship or a volunteer activity and somebody really knows you well and is positive, you can go there too. If you're in family business, it gets a little more complicated. It cannot be your parents, right? If I had to recommend my son, I would say he walks on water. He's the most beautiful child in the whole world. Not objective. So you need to ask customers, suppliers, financial partners, somebody that you are in contact with all the time that knows you in a professional context in that case and can recommend you. But not mom and dad. That's really out of the question. Or Uncle Charlie. Practice interviewing, it's super important. A lot of the times, by the time you get to the last question, you are finally warmed up and feeling confident, but it's too late. You're already on the last question. So before you start any very important interview for jobs, for anything, go warm up. Before you play cricket, you warm up. Before you do yoga, you stretch. Warm up your voice. Get yourself in a good mood. I listen to Katarina and the Waves. I'm walking on sunshine. There's also an Indian song I listen to. I'm incapable of saying the title, but it's all about wearing sunglasses, and they play it a lot at Indian weddings. And I love that one too. It puts you in a good mood. It warms up your voice. Sing it along. You can dance at home. Nobody's watching you. It's okay. And then you are in a perfect posture. Your shoulders are relaxed, your chin is up, you are a smiley person, your voice is warmed up, you are ready to go. And it's much more enthusiastic, it's much more engaging than if you are completely stressed. And it's only by the time we get to the fourth question that we start to feel good. It's over, it's too late. It's like going on a roller coaster. Once you get, finish the ride, that's when you finally have a smile on your face. Your CV is ammunition. We can shoot back at you everything we see on the CV. Will ask you questions. So don't go out on a limb, right? Don't exaggerate anything just because you think it's something kind of cool to say, because there's a big chance that fate will have it. People will ask you questions about that very thing that you're not that sure about. So stay in your comfort zone when we're talking about the CV, and make sure you can speak about anything you put on there. And also things you want to speak about, let's be honest, if you're talking about the impact that you had in the company, you're going to talk about the project that you are most comfortable speaking about and that you're proud that you did, right? It's an achievement. Dress for success, we're going to see this much of you. So this much of you has to be a little bit formal. You don't have to wear a tie, but a shirt and jacket would be nice, or a very nice presentable, this part of you. Do not stand up under any pretext if you are wearing your pajama bottoms, even if it's to turn on a light. If you have to move for any reason, cut the camera, or just put your thumb and you can get up, turn on a light, and nobody can see your pajama bottoms. It's happened. I can assure you it's happened. Make sure you're in a very quiet, secure place. Let people around you know for the next 20 minutes, don't knock on my door, don't come and get my dirty laundry, mom. Don't be a bad roommate and do this behind me because I'm doing a really important interview. Put your pets outside. My cat had a habit of walking across my computer board and hitting the wrong key at the wrong moment. We actually had a candidate whose cat was bugging him right in the middle of the question. The cat came walking along and he was giving an answer, on world peace. So it was a strong, intense moment. And we see the cat walking across and the cat's tail is doing this. Well, the guy is trying to be super, world peace. He got extra points for not cracking, but we noticed that in the next questions, there was no more cat. So I imagine he opened the door, threw the cat out and closed the door really quick, but do that before you start the interview so you don't get, caught off guard and you lose your train of thought. Sometimes you want to wear the new shirt, the new dress, the new top. Be careful, try it on just to make sure there's nothing itchy or anything bugging you, because if you're sitting there the whole time and it's driving you nuts, then you're not going to be on top of your game. We are checking program fit for you. So if you've spent your time trying to think what we want to hear and researching it extensively on internet, we will know nothing about you, and we will recognize the sort of memorized answers you're going to give us, because it gets a little bit robotic at one point, that you're reciting a poetry kind of thing. So it has to be you, but that's the very genuine, authentic part of it. It's you. And that's what we're more interested in. Remember, what makes you outstanding makes you stand out. So it has to be very personal. Of course, the positive body language, what we're going to see here, is also part of good communication. So you want to pay attention to that. Maybe film yourself while you're answering some practice questions to see if you're happy with your facial expressions. Sometimes when we are under pressure, it looks like the sky is falling because we have this face like, oh my God, I don't know this question. I don't know what I'm going to say. Check those facial expressions and practice answering these crazy questions so you can, you'll feel confident no matter what gets thrown at you. Admissions want to see you've done your homework. We will know if you've actually signed up for online events, if you've downloaded a brochure, if you've participated in sessions, online sessions, etc. So go ahead, do that. You know, it's a really good thing to do, and you learn more and more about INSEAD. And if you're going to feel comfortable with us as well, right? It's a two-way street. So there's sessions that we call drop-ins. Then you get to meet current students. There's master classes, there's virtual open days that you can sign up for. Visit a page that's called In the Know. You can read the student blogs. They're going to tell you what's happening throughout the entire program. Download the brochure, of course. Have a focused vision. You don't have to have specific career goals, but have an idea. You know, show that you've thought it, give it some thought. We all have plans. Generally, we don't stick to them. But it's nice to show that you have really thought about it. And then you can simply say, but I'm open to opportunities that are going to happen at INSEAD that I haven't thought about yet. That's perfectly fine. There's an optional essay, and don't let that opportunity get away from you. There's an optional essay. Yes, it's optional, but you have 300 words to share something more with us. So go ahead, you know, don't lose that opportunity. Common errors: you don't look at your experience level and you don't apply to the right program. You get caught up in the requirements. So you like, okay, but I had a GMAT, I had this, I had that, and I didn't get selected because you didn't look at the admission criteria, the ability to contribute, the academics, and the international motivation. You go for a panic on the deadline. Oh my God, I have to get to round one or I won't get in. That's absolutely false. And if you run to get to the deadline, but you're not really happy with the essays, or your GMAT score wasn't really that great, and you should have maybe taken time to do it again, it's not a good plan. The CV that's more like a biography or a book, horrible. The generic objectives, like we saw in the bad CV. The copy and paste errors. If you're applying to more than one school, before you start pasting everything in the online application, verify that you are not applying to Harvard, that you are applying to INSEAD, and vice versa. Poor references, because you didn't check with them that they remember you, that they're very positive about you. And then if you didn't practice for the interview, or you didn't take the time to look at the curriculum and the electives in case you get questions about that. So read the In the Know blogs. The students tell you all about it. You have the application dates on the website. Don't wait for round 5. Of course, you don't want to wait for the last round. That's not a good idea. There's an optional interview that's a live interview if you get pre-selected. You definitely are doing this CV and essays so that people want to talk to you. So the Kira interview, the recorded interview, the video interview is giving them a flavor of who you are, which is why you want to do all that warming up and get them interested in talking with you live. Know the advantages of each school. All of us will tell you we have a huge alumni network, but is it really active at INSEAD? Yes. These are top ranked business school with top ranked programs and top ranked professors. Very important. Do you get international exposure? Do you get practical applications of what you're learning? Are you learning things companies want you to have? All of these questions are yes at INSEAD, so be careful when you're comparing. It's a multi-campus program. You won't be applying to go abroad. Everybody gets equal chances to go abroad, right? It's built into the MIM program, unlike the MBA program where it's a little bit different. The MIM program, you all travel because we know you need to, you know you want to. There's no restrictions there. It's a one-year campus, so be careful. It says September, but you start period 0 in August. So if you're doing internships, be ready to travel, be ready to do the August courses that start online, that get you hitting the ground running when you arrive at INSEAD, starting mid-August, very important. You have practicals, that is every 2 months session, every 2 months period, you are putting into practice what you are learning. So you might have L'Oreal come in with a marketing project, for example. The electives allow you to customize the program. So if you want to go into consultancy or finance or project management or entrepreneurship, the career centers will help you choose so that you block the right electives together. You can check class profiles. The new class is on the web very, very soon. I think we have 40% women this year, actually, and a little bit more nationalities. There's 130 students this year. There'll be a little bit more next year. The alumni are doing great things, so check that out as well when you're comparing schools. Don't forget, you need a basic knowledge of a third language at INSEAD by the time you graduate. So show your passion. Don't use Google to think by yourself. And when you're in doubt, you reach out. I'm sorry, I was a little long there. Let's get to the questions.
No problem, Nancy. I'm pretty sure this is I can see the engagement levels. We are able to see the chat, your comments come in and the questions come in. And this is extremely insightful. I would vouch for this. And those of you who are looking to apply to master's programs abroad, believe me, these rules are extremely, extremely critical. You are going to be truthfully be evaluated with a fine comb. You're going to be really in the spotlight. All aspects of your profile are going to be evaluated and judged before you get that coveted admission offer. And to be able to do that, your application needs to be extremely impressive as well. I am briefly going to summarize what we spoke about. Your academic scores, your GMAT score, GMAT GRE scores, right? So your academic scores plus the aptitude test scores, these give an indication of your academic capability, your ability to cope with the curriculum. So do have strong scores. It always helps your case. The higher the score, the better your scores, the better your prospects would be. Besides these, your extracurriculars, your initiatives, the leadership initiatives that you have taken on, the positions of responsibility that you have held, these do matter. They can compensate at times to a certain extent for low academic scores or low GMAT GRE scores. So do make sure, if you are someone who's active, do make sure to highlight these in your resume, highlight those examples in your application as well. Other good to do things is have a neat, clean resume, which is easily understood, is impact focused, and gives that shop panel kind of feel, which gives the highlights of your profile. So easy for a person to pick the key points and talk more about those during your interview. And as Nancy said, keep it genuine, keep it realistic. Don't lie, don't bluff, don't over-exaggerate, and be ready to defend any point that you mentioned in your resume or in the application, and prepare well for the interview. Nancy, I'm going to now jump into the questions. So a lot of questions have come in. But before I do that, and I want to give the audience to post in more questions before I start picking those up. Before I do that, I want to run one more small poll as well. I want to understand from the audience which year of study they're looking to join, right? We are currently in 2021. It's a little too late for the 2021 intake. I just want to get a feel from the audience whether they are targeting the 2022 intake, 23 intake, or beyond. This would also tell us whether you are in the final year of education, and where you are in your journey. So do respond to this poll. I'm going to keep it live for another 10 seconds. It would be great if you can quickly click on the year of your targeted study, right? Which year you intend to start your studies outside of India. If you can just mark that, that would be great. All right. So I do have the responses. While 27% are targeting the 2022 intake, 39% are 23, and 33% are 2024 or beyond. So it's a spread out group. I understand some of the audience are still in the second year, third year of college, but this gives us that insight as well.
It's always good to think ahead. That's fine.
Good, right? These people do have this, with the session, have this foresight now on how they can prepare and be best prepared for the applications 2-3 years down the line. So I think they are in the most advantageous position. But on that note, let me start picking up some questions and start trying to address these queries as well. Nancy, how much does the undergraduate institution matter, right? So if you look at India, there's a whole pecking order. There are the top IITs, then there are the mid-rank IITs, there are the NITs, lower ranked NITs, then private engineering schools, so on and so forth. Similarly, with the non-engineering domains, so bachelor's, BCom, your Delhi University is really well known, Mumbai University is well known. So how much does the undergraduate institution or university matter?
Not everybody can come from Harvard. Not everybody can come from the IIT of Madras, but these things matter. They matter. So if you are from a prestigious school, don't hesitate to include that. And if you're not, then you're going to be, so getting that supporting GMAT or GRE score high up there to show your high potential. So we're not obsessed with only the top 3 institutions of each country. If you have that opportunity, fantastic, do mention it, but we are taking into consideration everyone.
Okay. So if you have great credentials, see if you manage to get through to a top undergraduate institution that talks about your academic capability, that means you did really well at your class 12 level. It does show that in your application, but if you don't have such a really strong brand at the undergraduate education level, it's still all right. With a strong score, great application, great extracurriculars, you would still stand a chance of cracking the top like INSEAD.
The other thing about if you come from a prestigious institution, it's very important to note that, because sometimes the grades are more severe within those institutions. So we need to know that because maybe it's easier to get high grades, but maybe in a less prestigious institution, and that can account for lower grades in a more prestigious institution, let's say.
So while, if I understand this correctly, you don't have a normalization process, but it's a judgment call which the admission officer, the reviewer takes to see if the person is from a really prestigious institution, has slightly lower grades, it's still all right because you understand that it's really competitive and difficult to score in such an institution.
Exactly.
Great. So Nancy, there are some questions. So Shaurya is asking about this, and there were some questions about the cohorts which have graduated so far. So I understand only one cohort has completed the INSEAD MIM so far, right? Or is it 2 cohorts now?
Super important question. Yeah, they are officially graduating in December. They finished the course. They're doing the professional experience part of the program. So they haven't yet graduated. However, we are compiling the statistics on that. First and foremost, I do a lot of posts on LinkedIn because my students reach out to me to celebrate. I got BCG, I got Morgan Stanley. They're doing extremely well. I saw a comment in the questions, is the MIM worth the ROE? It's definitely worth the ROE because it's a shorter program that takes you out of the workforce less, as opposed to a 2-year program where you might have a gap year. So it becomes a 3-year program. That's 3 years. You've got to do housing and food and you don't have a salary. MIMs have 1-year programs. They jump right into the professional world and they're doing it with INSEAD style. We have very close connections with companies thanks to our award-winning #1 FT ranked MBA program. So our recruiters are there and all the companies need junior level, mid-level, and senior level. So INSEAD is their one-stop shop, basically. We have MIM, MBA, Exec MBA. So they're doing extremely well. We are, all of us, waiting for the final stats, but do have a look on LinkedIn and you'll see the posts on my profile. You'll see the posts that I've liked and shared about our students. They're doing extremely well career-wise.
So Nancy, on that point, do the MIM graduates also, majority of them get into consulting? Because I know for the MBA, a huge chunk of the INSEAD cohort gets into consulting roles.
Yeah,
for MIM as well.
INSEAD MBAers, there's about a third of the class that go into consulting. MIM is a little bit more diverse because it really depends on the student career goals, but it's equally possible I think it's, slightly less, but we're in about a third of the class that went into consultancy. It's great for engineers, basically, because you have the engineer baggage and you add on the management skills, and then you become somebody that's basically unbeatable on the business world. So yeah, there's a lot of consultant companies that are looking for engineer expertise coupled with management skills. So it's a great, but a lot of students wanted to go into finance. That was possible. We had a lot of students going into TNT. They just did a huge career focus on TNT, careers, and some students found their calling there. It's a generalist program. So with one key, you're opening a lot of career doors.
Interesting. And does the majority of cohort end up finding employment within Europe itself, or are you seeing trends that the cohort is the first cohort that end up somewhere in Asia, North America, or did majority of them find employment within Europe itself?
A lot of students don't want to go back to their home country right away. We're seeing a lot of students working outside of their home country. So there was over 30 nationalities. So they are rather global. And then you have that alumni network, and that's when that comes in, right? So think about it, guys. You have 62,000 plus alumni working around the globe. It's a tight-knit network. So if you reach out to them for advice, for mentoring, for internships, they are going to say, oh, INSEAD little brother, oh, INSEAD little sister. They are all of them senior to you, because we have an MBA, EMBA network. These are senior, mid to senior level INSEADers at your fingertips.
It's the whole alumni community that comes together, and that is your truly global network. I have had quite a few friends who studied at INSEAD for the MBA program, and they vouch for this. They vouch for the access that the network gives them. The global mobility and opportunities that open up to that network are truly unparalleled. Nancy, on one, and this is the question which a lot of the audience would have, because studying abroad is expensive for Indians. It is a big decision. The question is, an MIM program immediately after undergrad education, or an MBA after a few years of work experience? These are majority of audience are either college students or fresh graduates, so they can take that. They do have the choice. They do have a choice to either sign up for an MIM program now or wait a couple of years and directly go in for an MBA. What would be your advice?
So I have a few thoughts on that. When I bought my smart TV and I tried to connect it, it took me about half an hour. And then I had to call the technical service because I wasn't getting it. I didn't get the technical service on the line fast enough that my son came home, picked up the zapper and went, and it was done. Okay. What I'm saying here is the MIM is as if you were growing up with all of the technology you're growing up with. When you use something immediately, when you learn something new and you put it into use, you own it. And learning your management skills straight off and then putting them into practice immediately in the working world gives you some very vital experience. So you can start your career out with the MIM. There's no start and stop that way. When you're doing an MBA, you're going to go into the work world. You're going to need at least 3 years. Start applying after 2 in some consultancy companies, for example. So you're going to have to stop working, go back and study, and then restart. Whereas MIM, you're continuing your education and then you just keep moving up. I feel like getting those key skills early on makes you the person that takes the zapper and it takes you 5 seconds to do the thing that somebody that doesn't have those tools and frameworks and perspectives will be able to do, but a little less structured and more instinctive, but not really knowing what they're doing. However, let's look at consultancy, because I think that it's a common thing that students can be interested in. if you go to the top 4 consultancy companies in the world, of which we are, a feeder school, after you've performed well for 2 or 3 years, they will give you the opportunity to get a master's degree to further your education. Most times it will be for an MBA. If you get into the top 10 schools of the world, they will help you finance it. So my thinking is purely financial here as well. Why don't you pay the MIM that's less than 50,000 euros and let them pay the MBA that's 90,000 euros, right? So the MIM will give you a chance to get into those, will launch you into those companies, allow you to perform, to show your high potential, and get help funding your MBA at that point. It's a strategy, MBAers go into consultancy after they graduate for a third of the class. Why do they do that? It's a strategy. They want to get the hiring bonus. They want to pay back their loan as quickly as possible, and the salaries are super interesting. And usually after 2 years, you'll see them go into their true love, whatever that may be. And sometimes it's entrepreneurship.
Okay. So especially if you're young, fresh out of college, then MIM possibly makes more sense because you come to the job market with the right credentials. You've got the right education, you understand management as well, you learn the frameworks, you learn the approaches, and you can possibly outperform your peers when you're coming in with previous management education rather than going there directly after your undergrad education. And a follow-on MBA is always an option. You can always come back and do an MBA 4 or 5 years down the line as well.
It's about using your networks, right? I mean, with the MIM, you're an INSEADer for life. You will be connected to INSEAD your entire career.
Right.
INSEADers come back for conferences, for TED Talks, to be active in school. We'll be asking you to help us recruit, to interview. It's a lifelong commitment. So whether you do a MIM or you do an MBA, you'll be in our alumni community for the entire professional life.
Right. Nancy, Palashdeep has a question, and I'm just going to take 2-3 more questions before we wrap up this session. Again, a very important question for Indian audiences: scholarships. What do you have on offer, and do they stand a chance coming from such a dominant applicant pool?
So for those of you thinking ahead, go to round 1 if you want to be considered for the Eiffel Government Scholarship. Only round 1 candidates can be considered for the Eiffel Scholarship. It's the only reason I would see you running to the first session. All French schools have access to this. Schools have to present applications to the board, to the government. So you can only go through the school. That would be my main reason for telling you to go to round 1. Even though the INSEAD MIM just began, we did secure scholarships with Eiffel. And it was for Indian students because they're particularly interested in emerging economies. Otherwise, don't run. You can be considered for scholarships in each round. Budgets run out, so don't wait to the last round, but you are automatically considered for either diversity or achievement scholarships, which was why I was insisting so much on your CV about getting that international exposure there, and any awards, achievements, co-founding things, entrepreneurship, interesting internships, and your impact. You're wanting to show your diversity and your strong achievement to be considered for these scholarships. You're automatically considered, and your admission offer will include the scholarship. So you don't have to accept the offer and not know if you're getting something or not.
So round 1 is the most ideal to get the full, did I hear full scholarships?
Eiffel scholarship. We don't have full scholarships yet. The average scholarship is around 12,000 euros.
Okay. So round 1 is the best chance for those scholarships, but you do have some merit scholarships given out in round 2 as well. but don't wait
Round
till the last
one,
round.
round two, round three,
Fair chance.
three
Okay,
rounds, round one and round two for scholarships, and only round one for Eiffel scholarship. Don't wait for round five. There's a big chance there will no longer be any scholarships there.
and possibly there won't be any spots left as well. I think with the
I
demand.
don't think it's wise as an Indian student to wait for round five. We promised you diversity, right? And there's a lot of you applying. So if you come to INSEAD and the room is full of Swiss bankers, you're going to look at me and say, where's the diversity, right? So you have to kind of think that we're doing the same thing for all nationalities. So if you have a highly represented nationality, then you want to be in the early rounds for sure.
Interesting. Nancy, I'm going to take a question from Kshitiz over here. Do certifications like the CFA, FRM add value to the CV? My obvious answer is yes, but your thoughts?
Of course, if you are telling us my objective is to work in investment banking and I did the CFA, then we're like, okay, that's coherent, showing your, commitment and your passion. But any kind of certifications are interesting for us to know. When you're excited about something, then you concretize with these kinds of certificates. It's a good thing to put on your CV. If you are worried about anything, should I put this on my CV? Just send me a message. Should I put this on my CV? Include your CV if you want, so I can have a look at your profile and I can say, oh yeah, that would be a good addition, or that's repetition. Don't worry about that.
Okay. I'm going to clarify for the audience. So Vidhi is asking if there are 100% scholarships available and full scholarships. So as Nancy clarified, you don't have full scholarships, but 12,000 euros is the maximum that the merit scholarship can be. So if you're applying to the INSEAD MIM, you can potentially get up to 12,000 euros of scholarship. There are no full scholarships there. So
Not yet. It's
not
still a very
yet.
young program, right? It's a young program, so we haven't got full scholarships yet, but we have scholarships, average 12,000 euros. Many students have profited from.
Interesting. Nancy, this is a question in the application. We saw that there are video interviews.
Yes.
And then there's also the optional in-court scenario where there's a live interview with a alum or someone from the admissions team. What is the purpose of the video interview? What points does it check off?
So we don't just want to see words on paper. We want to see you, how you communicate, what you did, the person that you are. It's getting to know you better. That's why you should warm up and make sure that you're really yourself and you're not some stressed out version of yourself that is not really convincing and not great. And we want to give you the option of talking to us because some people are better talkers than writers. So we want to give you that option. And if we like what we're hearing, if we're convinced by it, then we're going to invite you to the live interview. And that's the direction you want to be headed in.
All right, interesting. So, Nancy, I still see a lot of questions coming in, and I was hoping by now we would be done with all the questions, but they're still going on, and we are running out of time, unfortunately. Nancy, are you okay?
I just wanted to do a 2-minute speed down the questions list because I've gotten good at that.
Sure, please go ahead.
Give me 2 minutes. Here I go.
Sure.
Job responsibilities and the internships we did. Yes. Don't be too technical. Don't be too long. Tell me your impact of what you did more than technically what you did. And yes, college societies definitely want to hear about that. Should soft skills be included in the CV? Soft skills could come out of what you have done. I don't want a list of soft skills. I'm a great team player. I'm a great speaker. It should be, I was in the debate club. I played soccer. It should be, those soft skills should come out of what we see on your CV. Can you please elaborate on opportunities for postdoctoral fellowships? It's not a doctoral program. I have no idea. I really encourage you to contact the PhD department directly for that. Going down the list, there are a few coding and data analytics courses in the curriculum, which is not commonly found in other MIM courses. This makes a huge difference, Akil, because This is what companies have asked us for. When we developed the MIM program, we actually consulted companies and said, what do you want them to know? So it makes a huge difference for the recruitment, indeed. It's not just an average MIM program, it's job-ready graduates. Is MIM better or MBA after work experience? If you have more than 2 years of work experience, you're definitely in the MBA profile. If you have less, you're in the MIM profile. And not one is better. It's just at what point in time, where are you in your career launch, in your career experience? Is any minor matters along with the major degree in selection? We're looking for diversity. So you could have done underwater basket weaving. It makes you different from other people. We're for it, okay? Let's see. What's the difference? What's the difference between MIM and MBA other than work experience and age? Not much. You're learning about management. We are adapting it to the public that is learning about it. You can't use your own experience to make case studies in the MIM. You don't have any, or you don't have enough. Whereas MBAers can use their own experience to contribute to enriching the program. So there's a slightly different way of teaching, but you're basically learning in the MIM how to launch your career and skills you're going to be needing for your early career launch. And in the MBA, you're learning how to move up and out. It's not the same. You're not at the same moment in your career. Where can we contact you? That is an excellent question. You can do mim.info@insead.edu. You can go to my LinkedIn that's on the screen. It's not difficult to find me. If I'm interested in consulting, should I go for an MSc in finance or MIM? I don't see why you would go for an MSc in finance. If you're interested in consulting, you could, but a master in management gives you a much broader possibility, with also the possibility to choose your electives and tailor the program. There's some excellent electives by award-winning professors. So I think that's just about basically it. What type of interview would it be? Would it be mainly on or around the CV? The interviews, the live interviews, I suppose you're talking about the live interviews. Those start out as, start on your CV experience and why you want to come to INSEAD, and then it rapidly evolves into a dialogue, into, where you can each ask each other questions. So it's not a tricky interview, but this is where you have to be clear career goals, clear vision on why are you coming and what are you expecting. Do ask yourself the question, not only what can INSEAD do for you, but what can you do for INSEAD? INSEADers give back. That's why the alumni are so easy to get in touch with. Employment data of the first MIM batch is coming, but do check my LinkedIn post and you'll get a great idea. They're graduating in December, so patience, everybody, it's coming. Does the post of the person giving you a recommendation letter matter? Absolutely not. Excellent question, Soham. Don't go for the dean of your school or the CEO of your company if they don't know you. Get somebody that knows you very well and is extremely positive about you. You can apply for MIM in your final bachelor year. Absolutely. How much do you weigh a strong college tag like IITs? Okay, I'm in love with you guys. Let's just be honest. But if you don't come from an IIT, I do welcome your application as well. Show strong academics, show strong GMAT, show interesting internships and clubs. In both cases, we want to see you. We need a diversity, right? Can we include hyperlinks in the CV to a video that can explain, visualize a technical project? Good idea. Yeah, do that. Somebody might be interested because they might be more tech. MIM is a degree course, especially for youth, whereas MBA is a go-to-go career option. Sort of, Rachel. It's more like MIM is a career launcher. So you have 0 to 2 years of experience, and MIM is for people that have, on average, MBA is like 5 to 6 average years of experience. People are wanting to move up, to move out. We call them jumpers. They want to jump functions, jump industries, jump geographical locations. I think I've got through most of the questions, Sanjay. Is that okay?
Yes, this was brilliant. So there's this Hindi movie song, there's a song called Petless in India where the singer sings a 3-minute song without taking a single breath. This was like a rendition of that. You were on a roll with this. So really brilliant job. Thank you for doing this. I'm sure the audience found it extremely insightful and useful. These are young people still in college, you haven't applied to a lot of jobs, not made a lot of peaceful applications as such. And this session possibly has given them the right direction now. I'm sure the audience found it useful. Thank you to the audience for being so engaging and so patient with us. We have crossed 90 minutes and I still see the interest levels being there. So thank you for being so patient. Thank you, Nancy, for doing this. You have shared your email address on the screen. So if some of your questions didn't get answered, you can either write to mim.info@insead.edu. That's the official helpline email address where you can send in your queries about the INSEAD MIM. You can also see Nancy's email address on the screen. I would say use it sparingly. I know how busy her life is, how many candidates speak to her on a daily basis. So use it sparingly. If your queries don't get answered at mim.info@insead.edu, then feel free to write to her. Is that all right, Nancy? Can they reach out to you as well?
Perfect. And I really encourage you to join a drop-in session. These are sessions where you meet current students and you can just fire questions. It's not recorded. So it's Vegas. What happens in the session stays in the session.
Perfect. So you can ask them the true story, ask them any questions that you want. And I'm sure the students would be as candid as possible, and give you the right insights, the right guidance as well. So thank you again, Nancy. Thank you for doing this. This has been extremely engaging, extremely insightful, and really glad that I got a chance to host this session. With that, signing off. Any parting words, feel free. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and end this session now.
Thanks very, very much to Seed. Amazing as usual. The public, very interesting, pertinent questions. I love it. I look forward to hearing from you. Tomorrow is a MIM deadline for round 1. So today I am up to here with application questions. So do have some patience with me when I'm getting back to you. If I don't get back to you today, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to. It just means that I'm helping people finish their applications before tomorrow midnight. And thanks again. It was wonderful to be here.
Same here. Thank you, Nancy. All the best for the round 1 deadline. And hopefully we'll do such engagements in the future as well. Thank you again for taking out the time. All of you in India, have a good night. Nancy, have a good day. All of you in India, have a good evening and a good night. Take care, keep safe, and take all the precautions possible. All the best.